Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be attempting to predict all 14 games in week 12 of the 2025 NFL season. Okay, last week I went 10-5, which is my best week since week 2, and I was quite surprised. I don't know why I picked the Seahawks. I don't know. It felt like if I picked my team, the Rams, they're gonna lose. And I was a long way off the tiebreaker because the Cowboys scored more points and I thought, Okay, we're gonna start off with Thursday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. The Bills, they got a huge win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. Josh Allen remembered who he was. And they're playing the Texans, who just swept the Tennessee Titans last week. Unfortunately, I believe CJ Stroud has still not cleared concussion protocol, so he won't be playing that game. Anyway, the Bills have a strong offensive performance, putting up 44 points against a defense who has been not the worst, but also far from the best. And the Texans, they have a strong defense. So I feel like this one's actually might be quite close. But I'm going to stick with my gut and go for the Buffalo Bills to win. But will we see the same Bills that beat the Buccaneers, or will we see the same ones that lost to the Dolphins? We'll find out. Then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Chicago Bears. The Steelers, they got a much needed win against the Cincinnati Bengals last week because they're holding that AFC North title is fragile because the Ravens are so close behind. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears, they beat the Minnesota Vikings last week and they hold first place in the NFC North, which is something no one saw coming, especially with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions looking as heavy favorites for that division title. This one is one of the ones I spent the longest deciding because the Steelers, if they show up, they can beat anyone. In my opinion, of course. But if they don't show up, they can lose to anyone. It feels like I can say that about every team in the league. The Bears, I feel like they have the momentum right now. It's been played at Soldier Field. I'm picking the Bears to get the win. And we'll see if they can keep hold of that NFC North title. Lead even. Then we have the New England Patriots taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Patriots taking care of business against the New York Jets last week, and it looks like they might be able to hold on to the AFC East. It's between them and the Bills, and I don't know. We have to see when they play each other what happens. They're taking on the Bengals, who lost to the Steelers. Still have no idea when Joe Burrow is coming back. I would look it up right now, but I'm running short on time, actually. So, and my phone's actually beside my bed charging. I'm doing this on my desk, and my bedside is literally about 2.5 arms width from where I am now. Anyway, filler aside, I have to stick with New England here. The Cincinnati defense is not good enough to stop Drake May. They lost to the Steelers even though Aaron Rodgers did get injured. So I'm going with New England to win again, keeping it close with the Bills. Following that, we have the New York Giants taking on the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams lost last week. Going into this game, being played at Ford Field, it's going to be a true test to see if the Lions can recover and keep up with the Bears. Anyway, the Giants, they kept it close to the Green Bay Packers last week, but ultimately they lost to the Packers. Poor Giants fans must be thinking, oh, when's Jackson Dart going to come back? Jameis Winston, he threw a lot of risky passes, but the Packers defenders kept dropping them, except one. So he's lucky that he only has one interception last week. The Lions, they went for it on 4th down 5 times and failed all 5 of them. It was a defensive battle, and ultimately they lost. But I do believe that the Detroit Lions offense can beat over this Giants defense. And it's been played at Ford Field. I'm picking the Lions to win this one. And let's see. We have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings, they lost to the Bears last week. And the Packers, they beat the Giants, as previously mentioned. The Packers and the Vikings, they both have a lot of division games coming up. And if the Packers want to stay competitive in the NFC North, they have to win these division games. Especially when they have to play the Lions again on Thanksgiving. But for now, this one, I'm picking the Packers to win. Jordan Love did get banged up a little bit, and the backup, I've forgotten his name. I don't know. I've forgotten his name. I'm sorry about that. Went for 2 for 2, 6 yards, 1 touchdown. It's great that the Packers have a backup that can lead them to touchdowns if needed. So I'm picking Jordan Love and the Packers to win over the Vikings. It's a division game, and the NFC North is kind of unpredictable. And the Vikings did sweep the Packers last year, but that's a completely different season and a completely different team, especially now the Packers have Micah Parsons on that defense. Moving on, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Tennessee Titans. Both these teams lost last week, but it's 2 very different tales. The Seahawks, they lost to the Rams last week, but they kept it competitive and came within 1 missed field goal of winning, despite Sam Darnold throwing 4 interceptions. And the Titans, they got swept by the Texans. They've only won once all season, and I bet they can't wait for the season to end. They currently have the number 1 pick again, despite using it on Cam Ward. It's clear that Cam Ward alone can't fix that team. Anyway, I don't think I need to explain why I think the Seahawks are going to win. The defense only allowed 21 points against that Rams offense. And even though the Rams defense did hold them to only 1 touchdown, they did put up field goals against Rams. I'm picking the Seahawks to win and hope that they keep it competitive in the NFC West with the 49ers and the Rams. Now this one is the one I spent a lot of time on. It's the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts had their bye week last week, and the Chiefs, they just lost a close game against the Broncos. Now this one, it depends on which Daniel Jones we'll see. Will we see an amazing Dan Jones, or will we see one that fumbles 3 times in one game? And the Chiefs, they're fighting to survive to get to the postseason. The AFC West is competitive. We have the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos all competing for that title. The Chargers obviously lost also last week, so the Chiefs are currently 5-5. I don't think anyone predicted that going into Week 12 that the Chiefs would only be on 5.500. Anyway, this one I did toss and turn a lot, but I'm picking the Chiefs to win. Patrick Mahomes didn't have his best game, but if he plays well, he can beat anyone. And the Chiefs' defense, we know how good it is. The Colts, they've been a little inconsistent lately, especially since they lost to the Steelers, but they're still one of the best teams in the AFC. I'm expecting this to be a really close game. We'll see which team comes up on top. I think it'll be the Chiefs, and currently it's 50-50 on here, which is kind of insane. Following that, we have the New York Jets taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Jets, they lost to the Patriots last week, and their streak of 3 games without losing comes to an end. That's 2 wins and a bye week. The Ravens, they're slowly but steadily creeping back up on the Steelers in the AFC North. This one, Lamar Jackson could have played better against that Browns defense, but there's no way I can pick against the Ravens here. 2% of you have been bold enough to try it. And if the Jets do find a way to win, props to you guys. But I'm picking the Ravens to win this matchup. And since I predicted the Steelers to lose, they might tie it in the AFC North. Following that, we have 2-8 teams. The Cleveland Browns taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Browns, as previously mentioned, lost to the Baltimore Ravens last week. They kept it close. Myles Garrett is insane on that defense. And then the Raiders, they lost to the Cowboys quite badly in the end. The Raiders, they beat the Patriots in Week 1, which is something that people forget about. I can prove it actually. If we go all the way back to Week 1, the Raiders actually beat the Patriots in Week 1. No one was expecting the Patriots to be as dominant as they are. Back when this happened, I picked the Raiders and they pulled off the win. And it's been downhill since then. It's been downhill since then for the Raiders. Luckily, the draft is coming up soon. We're just reaching the end of the second third of the season. This one I also spent a while deciding, but I'm picking the Browns to win. I don't think the Raiders' offense, especially with Geno Smith, can break through that Browns defense enough to score enough points to overcome how bad the Cleveland offense is. So I'm picking the Browns to win. We'll see which of these teams comes out on top. Then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Jaguars have had a very weird season. They can win, they can also... They beat the Chiefs, they beat the Raiders in overtime, they beat the Chargers. But they're so inconsistent on both sides of the ball that it's hard to tell if they're going to be good or not. The Cardinals, damn, what a season it's been for the Cardinals. They lost to the 49ers last week, and I think Cardinals fans just want the season to be over. And honestly, I don't blame them. But for this game, even though it's been played at State Farm Stadium, I am picking the Jaguars to win. If they can pull off the same thing they did against the Chargers, they should have this one easily wrapped up. And hopefully, since I picked the Colts to lose, they can try and catch up in that AFC South. I think it's AFC South, isn't it? Yeah. I got my divisions mixed up a bit. Then, these teams hate each other. We have the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles, they won against the Detroit Lions last week. Their defense continues to perform well. And the Cowboys, their offense, Dak Prescott did an amazing game against the Raiders. And we'll see which of these division rivals in that NFC East can pull off the win. I personally think it's going to be the Eagles. They've beaten some good teams. They've beaten the Rams. They've beaten the Buccaneers. They've beaten the Lions. They've beaten the Packers. And the Cowboys, I don't know. They're 4-5-1. It's been a very weird season for Dallas. They traded away Micah Parsons to the Packers, of course. But for this one, I'm going to have to go with the Eagles here. Simply because I just believe in that Eagles defense more than I do in that Cowboys offense. The Eagles offense have been struggling recently, but I do think that they're going to put up enough points to beat the Cowboys. But I think this one is going to be close. The bookies say -175 plus 150, which is close. But I'm picking Philadelphia to fly away with the win. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. Falcons, they lost to the Panthers, been swept by the Panthers, and Michael Penix Jr. is out for the season. Things aren't going very well in Atlanta. The Saints, they had a bye week last week, a much deserved one. And now they have a home game against a division rival without their starting quarterback. And this one, I honestly don't know. This is the one I spent the longest deciding, actually. We had the Colts, Chiefs, and the Cleveland, Las Vegas games, which were close ones. This one, I have to pick something, and I'm going with that. I know when Kirk Cousins, I don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to start. If he does start, I know he can pass for hundreds of yards. The Saints, I just don't believe in them as much as I do the Falcons. I'm picking the Saints to lose to the Falcons. I almost said the wrong team name. Well, I did say the wrong team name, but I corrected it. I'm picking the Falcons to win. And we'll see what happens next. Then, this game should be good. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Buccaneers, they lost to the Buffalo Bills last week. The defense, again, had a disappointing game. Mayfield had a costly interception and fumbled at the end. Ultimately, not a good game for the Buccaneers. They're taking on the Rams, who've just beaten the Seattle Seahawks this year. And the Buccaneers are, of course, another team that beat the Seahawks. So they have that in common. So this one, I don't know. I know I'm leaning towards the Rams, but the Buccaneers usually have a poor mid-season and then come back later. I don't know when the Buccaneers' traditional late-season surge is going to start. It could be now, it could be never, I don't know. But I am going to go with my gut and pick the Rams to win this game. And we have another NFC South versus NFC West game. We have the Carolina Panthers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Panthers, they beat the Falcons, they swept the Falcons. And Bryce Young just had one of his best games of the season. They're taking on the 49ers, who have beaten the Arizona Cardinals and are still somehow winning games despite so many injuries. Yep, Nick Bosa's out for the season, among many others. And this one, I originally picked the Panthers to win this one, and I'm half debating changing it to the 49ers. I don't know. I'm going to take this one. It's on Monday Night Football. I'm going to go with my gut and pick the Panthers. I don't know why. This may be one of the worst decisions I've made all season. As for points, I was a long way off last week, So I'm going to pick for 44. Okay, so these are my week 12 predictions. Nothing too crazy apart from the Panthers here. Some of these could go either way. We'll see if I can catch up to the leaders in this group. I doubt it because they're really good, and I had some very poor weeks, especially week 4, where we got a disappointing 5 and 10. But we won't talk about that. We talked about it last week. I'm not going to talk about it again. We'll see what happens, and I'll see you later.